Now we can go ahead, Patrick, whenever you are ready.
Yeah, do you see my screen correctly? My SharePoint slide?
Yeah,
Yeah.
good to go.
Okay. So thank you very much for being there. Hi, everybody. I hope you had a great event so far. You can see on this slide a non-governmental organization. So if you are interested, you can contribute, of course. That's a great idea to connect our event with such type of organization. Our session will be about how to secure Microsoft 365 collaboration with Microsoft Information Protection, MIP. And I will mostly explain everything using a real life scenario. So I hope you will enjoy the scenario, and I'm sure it will be useful to explain everything, almost everything around MIP and AIP. Can you put in the chat? I'm not sure you have all access to the chat, but if you have access to the chat, can you put me where you are from? I'm interested to know where you are from everybody. I suppose you are, almost everybody is from India, but not sure. Maybe there are some other guy. So yeah, Alan from UK. Hello, Alan. Great to see you there. Hi everybody. Thank you for being there, and let's start. So first is what is MIP, and if we speak about MIP, we should speak about AIP, which is the previous version of the product, which is Azure Information Protection, and it's still there. So it can create some confusion at some point. Hi guys from India, Netherlands. Okay, that's great. As far as I'm concerned, I'm based in Paris. I usually have a slide, but I didn't put it here to present myself. So I am mostly a French MVP based in Paris, and I've been Microsoft MVP for 10 years now. And I have dedicated my career to Microsoft 365 and Office 365 previously, and I did a lot of SharePoint and Teams. And currently, I am focusing partly on security around Microsoft 365. So what is MIP? It means Microsoft Information Protection. And this is a set of solution and feature designed to help you protect your information. It's a 4-step journey. You have on this slide the big picture of how to implement and how to use and what you can do with Microsoft Information Protection. So the first thing is to know your data. So you should understand where are the most critical data and to protect them accordingly. And you should be able to identify the less critical data. So this is mostly done via classification. We will see that in a few minutes. And what is classification? It's a way to label any files in your environment, especially in your Microsoft 365 environment. And with the label functionality, you will be able to identify the less and the more critical data. And you will then be able to protect them accordingly. So once you know your data, the second step is to protect your data, or at least to protect the most critical one. We will be able, with the feature available, we will be able to apply some flexible protection, as they say, and mostly it means encryption or access restriction. You can also put in place some visual marking, for example. The third step is how to prevent data loss. So it's interesting to note that most of the people using and accessing your data don't want to put your company at risk because they are part of the company. So usually, in most of the situation, people don't really want to propagate some critical data outside the company, but they do it by error. So it's very important to put in place some prevention about that type of error. And this is the role of data loss prevention. It will, with the data loss prevention policy, you will be able to detect some risky behavior and to prevent accidental oversharing, especially outside the company. And last step is to govern your data. So governance is all about maintaining a certain level of policy on all your data and to be compliant with regulation and things like that. So with all with the three-step we have put in place, you will be able to govern your data with some dashboard and things like that. And everything is powered in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center and especially Compliance Center. We will see that as the second part of the demo. So I love this this quote, which means if you protect your paper clips and diamonds with equal vigor, you will soon have more paper clips and fewer diamonds. So this is basically the idea around data protection in Office 365. You should identify all the critical assets, which can be represented by diamonds, and then you will be able to protect your diamonds. So the idea is not to protect everything. That's very important because not everything is very critical in your business. But some part of your documentation of your files are very important, and this is where we should focus to protect our assets. Someone is asking to share the code. Yes, I have the code somewhere. Let me check. I'm not sure I have put it in my desk or it's at the end. But I will find it. Let's stop a few minutes to find it. It can be a little bit slow because I have many windows open and things like that. Okay, I will show at the end, but it's coming. It's coming. We have a few minutes. I have a question for you guys. So waiting for the code. How many of you are already using AIP, so Azure Information Protection? Okay, this is the code, 24620. Great, thanks, Alan. So I have a question. If you want to put it in the chat, how many of you or how many of your companies are using already AIP versus Microsoft Information Protection? So Azure versus Microsoft. You can use both, and we will see in a few minutes what both products are different, in what they are different and in what they are complementary. Okay, so most of we already said most of the way to identify your data is to put some what is called sensitivity labels on your files. What are a little bit more about sensitivity labels? That's a way, that's a metadata you can apply on any files. The word file is important because if you are not speaking about files, you can't use sensitivity labels For example, OneNote notebooks are not really files. They are more a group of files or a set of files. And so be aware that you can't put some sensitivity labels on this group of files. For example, calendar items are not files, so you can't put sensitivity label on calendar items, or database files are not, you can't apply sensitivity labels to database files. So everything which is a file, you can apply a sensitivity label. This is persistent, so if you apply a file and you bring the files out of Office 365, the sensitivity labels is taken with the file, so it will not be lost. It can be readable by other systems, so there are third-party products that can use this information. I hear some noise. Yeah, thank you. It can be applied automatically or manually. We will see that in a few minutes. And you can apply sensitivity labels to content, so files, but to containers as well, like SharePoint site or Teams site. We'll see that. And they label data everywhere, at rest, in use, or in transit. And it enables some protection action based on the labels. So this is basically what are sensitivity labels. So we will mostly focus in this session on Microsoft Information Protection, which is directly connected to Microsoft 365 experience. But the previous version of the product, we can say that, was called as Azure Information Protection. And to add some confusion around that, AIP is still available, and it provides some more features than we don't have in the core set of Microsoft Information Protection. For example, it provides a client, a Windows client, which allow you to label not only Office files, but any other files on the Windows Explorer interface. You also have with AIP an on-premises scanner. So if you want to scan, for example, a set of file share, you can use AIP on-premise scanner, and you have SDK coming with AIP. So this is, you can see on this grid picture that the basic component of MIP are available without AIP, and AIP adds some more feature. We will detail that at the end. So the scenario, MIP for a merger acquisition scenario. This is a very classical needs in company when you should create some connection between internal and external people, and very sensible or confidential information. So here, for example, this is in this example, this is for a merger acquisition scenario, but it can be for a sensible project, any project, in fact. So the idea is to create a collaboration team, and everybody in the team can access and collaborate on the documents, but everybody outside the team should not be able to access and to use the documents. And if this is very confidential, we should be able to be sure that even if some guy in the team try to share the document with another guy in the company, the confidentiality is kept. With usual protection or security option based on the container, it's very easy to, in fact, take a file outside, for example, a SharePoint site, you download it, and without MIP protection, everybody with the file can open it and can modify it and access it. With MIP protection, even if your bad guy in the team is stealing the file and is sending it to another non-authorized guy, the unauthorized guy will not be able to access the file because MIP protection do some verification at the opening every time you open the document. So if you are not authorized at the opening of the document, the Office apps, for example, Word, will say, hey, guy, you don't have the authorization to access this file, so you are not allowed to open it. This is a classic scenario, but in our scenario, we will extend that to external people outside the company. And so in this example, we are speaking about a merger acquisition scenario. So we have to speak with external CEO. So we have to speak with external participants and to collaborate, exchange with that type of guys. This is a little bit more tricky because participants are outside the company and you can't rely on some Azure ID or thing like that to protect your documents. So we'll see that it works anyway with MIP in this type of scenario. So the first part of the first demo is the end user vision. So as I said, we have an internal board of members and we have an external CEO, which is called Patty. And we have all of the guys in the company which are unauthorized user. So for the end user, you have 5 elementary steps you can do or you can rely on. The first one is, okay, I create some file and manipulate some files. I want to label it accordingly to the level of security I expect from this project, level of confidentiality. You can also have some automatic labeling in Office client. We'll see that. You can also have some automatic labeling by the service, which is a different option, and it provides different way to label automatically your documents. At some point, you may want to remove or change the label, and at the end, for the end user, the most important thing is, can I see the document or can I modify it? So first, here is the manual labeling. So with MIP, you have a sensitivity button in all your Office apps, and it can be shown like that. So you have several levels of confidentiality. Usually it's public, external, internal, confidential, secret. This is very usual level, but you can obviously define your own level in your company. And for every level, you can define sub-levels, sub-labels, in fact. And for example, you can have several levels of secret option. Here we have defined a Project Oryx label, which is dedicated to protect every asset around the Project Oryx. This is MIP. So please be aware that the Windows AIP Classic client is no longer supported. So if you see that, you should absolutely upgrade to what is called unified labeling client, unified client. So you should no longer see the protect option, but you should more, if you are still willing to use AIP unified client, after upgrade, you should be able to see the sensitivity menu button, and then you will have the show bar, which is very usual for AIP customer and user. But it's the same way. You can use it the same way as we use the menu to choose the level of sensitivity you want. With AIP unified client installed, you get also a new menu on your Windows Explorer, as you can see on the right. And for every file or folder, you can classify and protect and put some label on this file. So this is the first step. Second step, let's show how auto labeling work. So let's go directly to the demo. I should be able to access to my Teams. Where is my Teams? It's hidden somewhere. Okay. Here for the project Onyx or Oryx, it's several several versions of the same demo. I have created a Teams to be able to collaborate on this project. So it's obviously a very sensitive and confidential Teams. Let's see how I can show the team. So in fact, when I created it, okay, sorry, yes. When I created it, I specify the level of sensitivity of my teams. So here you have similar level we have seen in the screenshot previously. And coming from this sensitivity, obviously it creates, I have the only option to create a private teams because only team owners and members can collaborate on this type of teams. If we go to, sorry, yeah. If we go to the teams member, it's very classic, I would say. This is a team with internal and external members. So this is maybe the most interesting thing in this scenario is that I not only want to share my content and to work to collaborate with internal guys like Mr. Test or Miss Guimonet, but also with Patty, CEO 365, which is a guest people. Interesting thing is that this girl don't need to have an Office 365 account. So here we can see it's only a Gmail account. And this is interesting because not all outside users have necessarily an Office 365 account. So here it is. If I go to the general channel, I can see that I have already some files uploaded and things like that. Okay. So obviously there are some warning about the confidentiality of this project. So let's try to create a new file in this directly in the file space. Sorry, it's a little bit slow, but because I have so many things open. Blah blah. Okay, so here I have my already uploaded files. Interesting thing is I have added a new column showing the confidentiality level, or in French, so it's a sensitivity label. So you have Avalon Secret and project here. So this is the label. You can see the label already applied to the files. Yes. So if I create a new file, can call it press release. Yes. So you can see here that all files are already labeled with Project Onyx. If I create a new file here, press release doc, it obviously creates a file without any label. It should at least. This is a very important point for customers. When you create a file in a container, even if the container here it's a team space, even if the container has been labeled with some confidentiality label, not all files are, when they are created, get this label automatically. This is very important because most of our customers think it is the way it works, and it doesn't work like that. So you should be aware that labeling containers like a SharePoint site or a team site, a team space, is not a way to automatically label all the files inside this container. Here, for example, if I want to start this project Oryx news, press release. Can see that, and hello. At some point here, the automatic labeling option in the client should activate. It can take a few minutes or a few seconds more. Usually it's very quick, but let's see. Maybe it's because I did not Onyx, but Oryx, yes, Oryx is was another test, so I might have some difference between the way it's usually work. Maybe, yes, I have. So in fact, here, Project Onyx should trigger only one space. Maybe this is the problem. The Project Onyx word or keywords should trigger the automatic labeling option we have activated in the admin center. Obviously, there is a demo effect here. Anyway, let's try to open in the interesting. It works usually. Let's try to open it in the client. It should work in Teams directly, in Office Online, or in Word. So maybe there are some problems or some trigger not activating, but it should work like that. Anyway, I have the screenshot showing that it worked a few minutes ago. Here we have it in Word, so let's see a few minutes if it works better like that. As we can see in Word, we have I am not connected with the correct user, so maybe I can switch my end user because I did some tests. That's why you should always try. Continue here. So it doesn't seem to be coming, but anyway, I can show you how it should have worked, how it should work. In fact, if you go to the PowerPoint back, in fact, you should have a policy tip saying, okay, we have detected project Oryx or Onyx, and then your organization recommends that you change the sensitivity label to the corresponding confidential level. So here we have only a recommendation, but we can force with this, we have several options to force the label in this situation. So here it should work in Office clients. You have also several options to activate auto labeling in the service. So the way it works is different with auto labeling in the service. For example, if you upload several documents like that, PowerPoint and financial Excel, it can at some point detect if you have project Onyx inside the document, not in the title, as you can see on the version 2 of the file. If you have not the word in the document, it will not detect and apply automatically the label. But if you have project Onyx in the document, it will work as expected. That is to say, it will auto-apply project Onyx level. So we can try, maybe I have an idea. Maybe I am missing something with Onyx and Oryx. So let's try both. And it should activate the stuff very quickly, usually. Okay. Maybe this is because I have activated other stuff. Oh, okay, anyway. Let's go back to the Teams. Here, if I close the document, it's very important when you open the Office client, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, that you are connected here. Sometimes I have some issue because I am using several users for the demo purpose, but in real life, you should be connected with your current user. And so it's very important because this is the way it identifies your rights to open or to modify the document. Here, for example, I have some pre-prepared files I want to upload in this space. So here, for example, I have my three prepared PowerPoint and Excel documents. Yes, demo files, they are here. So these are very simple, almost empty files. And I will upload it to the, so I take them, I upload them to the Teams. And it can take, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes. So we will not see it immediately, but it's after this reasonable time, it will detect that some of them need to be auto-labeled with the corresponding level of security. Is it working or not? I'm I'm not very lucky this morning. Okay, it's uploading. So that's it. And we will come back there to see if the last column has been updated accordingly after the upload. So the upload is as usual. The file are uploaded without any label, and then I hope I've not cancelled the upload. It's once again, it's sorry, it's a little bit slow, but we'll come back to it after a few minutes. It should look like this after the upload, and a few minutes later, you get the label in place for the corresponding files. At some point, you might want to remove some label. Here is a typical justification that you should, in fact, in the admin part, we will ask to justify for any change in the label or any removing of the label. So this is typically the windows and the option you get if you want to remove a label, and this is very important because you can track any remove of the label or change in the label. At the end, if you send the doc attached to an email, if you download it and send it by your personal email, for example, or if to an authorized external user, for example, here's the CEO of the external company, you will get this type of vision. You have you can open without any problem, exactly like I did in my environment. But if you send it to an unauthorized user, it can be internal user or external user. In Word, the person, the unauthorized person, unauthorized user will get similar warning. You are not signed into Office with an account that has permission. So that's why the signing account in Office is very important to get the correct permission you are expecting. And it is very similar if you send the doc or the file via a link. If you don't have the right to access, you get this type of SharePoint warning or SharePoint not permitted access. Okay, so this was mostly the end user part or vision. Let's go to how we can configure all this stuff. And it's not so complicated, but you have many options. So let's detail most of them. So here I am changing my role, and I mostly IT admin. I go to the compliance center, and we will mostly show how to use data classification, information protection, and data loss prevention menus. So for the admin, it's very similar to what we have for end user. In fact, we have 5 elementary steps as well. Most of the job is relying on sensitive, what they call sensitive info type. So this is a way to categorize sensible information. And we will see that how to define and use that. From sensitive info type, you can create sensitivity label. From that, you can create data loss prevention policy, DLP policy. In our example, obviously, we have created the teams, and we can create an auto-labeling policy at the end on top of everything. So if you want to create a sensitive info type, you should go to the compliance. So let's go in the real interface. Okay. If you are not very familiar with this, here is the office.com homepage. So you should first go to admin. To admin, you have two with the new admin center. We have two sub, how can we say, sub admin sites, which are mostly compliance and security. It will come sooner or later. It will come. Yes. So here you have security admin center and compliance admin center. So we are going to compliance admin center for everything around MIP. And in the compliance center, so if you want to go here more quickly, you can use the compliance.microsoft.com URL, obviously. And when you arrive in the compliance center, you can see when it open, you can see on the top that you have data classification. So data classification is the hub for all your data labels and to get access to some dashboard and things like that. And in the bottom, you have more on information protection and data loss prevention and things like that. So if you don't see this menu, you have to add it via the catalog option. So here we are at the top of the data classification, and you can see that you have some grid dashboard about how many Abalone confidential label, for example, already used, or here Project Onyx has been used 17 times and things like that. So if we go, let's go just a few minutes in the Teams to see if it did its job. So here, for example, interesting, in fact, we have the file I've just created have been detected as potential content sensitive information. But here it's it means that the DLP policy have been taken have been triggered first before the automatic labeling. So anyway, okay, at some point, okay, let it work, and it will be back in a few minutes. So we have seen how to get to data classification. If we want to use sensitive Infotype, we have to create one, obviously, for Project Oryx, for example. You have to define a pattern. So this is the most important thing about this sensitivity type. In fact, you have to create a pattern. Pattern can be used, can be defined as a regular expression, as a keyword list, as a keyword dictionary, or as a function. Here we have the most, I would say, the most simple example, and I define Project Oryx as a keyword list. So, for example, it will be able to detect some sensible information where it contains Project Oryx, but as well Proj Oryx or anything similar. And once I have created my pattern, I can obviously create as many patterns as needed to detect this sensitive information. And I should define the level of confidence I want or I expect on this pattern, and then it's finished. So it's very quick and dirty. Let's go in the interface if we can. So here we are, sensitive info type. What I want to show you is that Microsoft is providing something like almost 200 predefined sensitive info type for many serial options. So in fact, if you sort on publisher, here we have 209 items. 5 of them have been created by me for different demos, but all others are provided by Microsoft. And if you look, for example, if you search for India, you have 2 sensitive info type based on India unique identification number, for example, or permanent account number. So, and this is the case for almost every a lot of countries, I would say, not every countries, but a lot of countries. For example, if you put UK, you get some predefined 7, 8 items, or for France. So for every for a lot of countries, you have predefined items like a national identity card or passport number or things like that. So that's very interesting that Microsoft is providing us so many predefined types. But as we have seen, it's very easy to create our own predefined, not predefined, our own specific info type. So here we have a good example of simple information. And here we are back to our teams, and the auto labeling option have worked correctly, because as we can see, yeah.
Just a reminder, we got 10 more minutes to complete
Yeah.
this. So
Yeah.
just a quick reminder that.
Yeah. So I will go back. So the label has been correctly applied, but I go back to the slide because we need to go quickly. First, it was to create sensitive info type. Then we will create sensitivity label. So you probably have already some label in place. And as I said, we have first level label, and you can create sub-label. So here you have on this screenshot how to create a sub-label. So if you want to create a sub-label for secret or confidential, you should click on the 3 point on the right. What does it take to create a sensitivity label? You provide a name, a display name, a description, and then you specify where this the scope of this label, so where it can be applied. It can be here, it can be applied on file and emails. It can be also applied on group and site. This is called containers label for containers. And in preview, you can as well use it in Azure Purview, like SQL columns, file in Azure Blob Storage, and more. Here I want to encrypt the file and to mark the content of the file. So I should specify some permission. For permission, you have basically 2 options. Is the permission defined at the time you define the label, so now, or do you define at the time you apply the label? So at this time, the user will decide who can access or who will get access to the file. So you have to choose that when you create the label. Here I have decided to assign permission at this time, so at the label creation time, and so I should assign permission To assign permission, that's very easy. You define, you have to choose the permission. So here it's full co-author, view content, view rights, edit everything. And you have to add some security group typically. So here I have a security group called board members, and every board members will get access to, will be able to access the files tagged with, labeled with this label. I want as well to add some watermark. I could bring some specific header or footer, but here only watermark. So here you have watermark text, the font size, the font color, the layout of the watermark and things like that. Here you get access to auto labeling option. This is not clear in the admin interface, but this is the client-side auto labeling. So this is the option to auto label in the client, and these are the options you can put in place at this place. So here I will auto label when I detect project Oryx Infotype. And that's it for file and emails, but now I have to define option for group and sites. So I can define the, I want only a private group or private teams, which is the minimum for a confidential project, I would say. And here, interesting option, as I said, I let external user access. So I will be able to add, for example, the external CEO in this demo, but for very confidential project inside the company, I can remove the external user access. So this will not let people share the document with external user, which is very interesting as well in some usual case. Here I define external sharing option. It can be a mix between which people I want to share. Is it only existing guests or new guests or only people in my organization? And I can mix that with Azure ID conditional access. So you can create some very powerful rules here. And that's it. We don't want Azure Purview. And here we have also the review of everything. And yes, your label was created. But be aware, this is not the end, because for every label you create, you should publish this label. Publishing a label is a way to make it aware to the end user. So, sorry. So if you want to publish a label, you have to choose user and groups. Here I have to publish it to only the core team or the board member teams, because I don't want that any other people in the company are even aware that there is a very confidential project. So this is a great way to hide the policy, the label to outside people. Here I specify, okay, what user should do. They should provide a justification when they remove a label. So I apply a default label. I can apply a default label to documents, to emails, to blah, blah, blah. And that's it. This is the name of my policy. And so here I wanted to show you the error message you can get if you try to publish a sub-label without its parent. So you have to add the parent label to this policy as well. So here it's a balance secret something project Oryx. So I have to publish a balance secret as well. And it's created. Be aware that it can take up to 24 hours to be effective. So the third part is how to create data loss prevention policy. So once again, we rely on a custom policy. DLP. DLP can apply on several location, Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, and things like that. You can choose here. In fact, I didn't choose really, but you can, for example, exclude some SharePoint site or apply it only on a few SharePoint sites. Here, for example, I could have applied it only to the dedicated SharePoint of my teams. Policy settings, how I customize the rule. So here I specify that the sensitive info type projector X will trigger the rule. And here I specify what happens when the rule is triggered. For example, user notification, I send an email and things like that. Policy tips, how I explain the user, okay, this is highly confidential information, you don't want to share it outside, for example. And that's it, mainly. You can test it or turn it on right away. And here it is. Once again, you can get some error if you have already, if you are already using the same name. So you should change a little bit the name of the policy because it can't be the same as the sensitive label. And to finish, we have created the team. So here are the screenshots for teams creation. And last, the auto labeling. Once again, it's not clear in the admin interface, but here it's auto labeling for the service. So this is how auto labeling by the service can be defined. And so you specify here the SharePoint site or the yes, you specify SharePoint site where you want auto label to be effective. And you define the rules. So you have to define, yes, if you detect sensitive information, project or X, you will apply automatically this sensitivity label. And that's it, basically. Finish, finish, and finish. So that's finished for the demo. You will find, as we are mostly end of the session, you will find in the slides some detailed comparison between auto labeling on the service and on the client side and auto labeling on the service side. Both, as I said, both are useful. So it's not one or the other. It's mostly both you should activate. A comparison between MIP versus AIP. We have already spoken about that. Be aware that everything rely on Azure RMS, which is the right management system, and it should be activated at the beginning for everything to work correctly. Pricing, this is very, very useful, common question. So here is for me the most precise information. So you have an